what is happening.
Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I can't wait.
Well, national parks. As a matter of fact, we have one of our listeners right now outside of Yellowstone. Her name is Sandy. We're asking her, so, what are you going to do? And I hope that is your biggest concern, that you can't get into a national park. Because
but can you imagine planning like a vacation for a year for your kids or something, and they're saying, do you still go or do you not? I guess 2 government shutdowns ago, they completely closed. 1 government shutdown ago, some of them closed, and then the services were really limited. But like going to Yellowstone is like, for many people, a once in a lifetime trip.
It's America's first national park. It's kind of a big deal, and it's kind of a pain in the rear if you're going and you're like, I don't know if they're going to be open.
Especially if the bathrooms are closed.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. Didn't they make an announcement that the parks would be open, but not the bathrooms?
Yeah, and that's real life impacts, John. That's why we do Wake Up Mid-Missouri. We don't come on here to complain about Democrats and progressive policies.
No, we're going to weigh in on where the bears go, right?
The important stuff, like, am I going to be able to go? Can I go pee or not? If I'm at the national park is open, but I'm going to have to, out in the woods.
At least if the bathrooms are closed, they won't have to rescue anyone from, inside an outhouse.
One of our great stories this week in What's Hot with Hannah, a woman jumped into a porta potty to try to save her Apple iWatch. By the way, can I tell my joke about a bear and a rabbit going to the bathroom out in the woods together? Can I tell that here, Hannah?
Probably not, because you're having to ask.
All right. What about Missouri specifically? So I will tell you this, VA, Karen. I know a lot of folks like to complain about the VA. I want to tell you a story about the VA hospital here in mid-Missouri in Columbia. My mom, who lived in the St. Louis area, she switched to VA care providers because it was so poor in St. Louis. They put up the smaller one, I think, in the Hannibal area, and she said no. She went through the time and effort to come to the one in Columbia. That's how much she liked it. But I'm thinking about, so these military personnel, and you look at the number of personnel that are at Fort Leonard Wood, Whiteman Air Force Base, they would still be working, not getting paid. And that's the other thing. People say, well, you'll still get paid. But when you're doing work and you're not sure when you're going to get paid, that's not a fun feeling for people.
Correct.
That can be frightening.
That's right.
I would guess.
And we have so many government contractors here in mid-Missouri. I didn't even realize the extent of the government contractors till we got into the vaccine thing, and they were threatening. And a lot of people in mid-Missouri said, hey, we take funds from the federal government, and we're going to be impacted by all of these vaccine mandates. And there are a lot. And so the government shutdown potentially affects these businesses. And we have some businesses that's probably the largest portion of their business.
Yeah, and I think about the businesses, for example, around Whiteman and Fort Leonard Wood, and those folks. Yeah, they're still working, still showing up every day, but all of a sudden they've got less discretionary income to stop and get a soda or get a breakfast sandwich from the break time in the morning on the way onto base. a lot of fear for those people that are affected. And I hope I have not sounded callous. Every time I talk about this, well, not going to affect me. I don't care. Doesn't mean I don't care about the people that could potentially be affected, unless Kevin and Matt and the rest of them get stuff going today. And I don't, from everything I'm hearing, I don't hold a lot of hope for that.
It doesn't sound like it at all, and and again, there's probably things happening behind the scenes, Brandon and Stephanie, that we're just not aware of. But Mark Alford did warn on a previous interview to a question you asked, Brandon. He said, "Look for the media to hype this up." With this, he mentioned the parks. They're going to put the signs up that'll be on the television cameras and stuff. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. If it happens, but you bring up a very good point about the St. Louis VA hospital. They had, at one point, Senator McCaskill was all over this. Senator Hawley and her actually agreed on this particular issue. I think they had 7 directors in 7 years at that Veterans Hospital in St. Louis. Very poor treatment, both Senator Hawley and so. But the Columbia one, and we did have some issues about 30 years ago. People remember it, but since then, it is just very, very positive. Everything I'm hearing about Truman VA.
36, according to the Kansas City Star, more than 36,000 civilian federal employees here in the Show Me State. Tad on text. Excuse me, that's the wrong text. Mike on text. Hannah, did you see Tad's text about the bear and the rabbit out in the woods going to the bathroom at a shut-down national park?
Oh, that poor rabbit.
Mike says, I can't wait for them to put the barricades up around the statues in Washington, D.C. because that always made sense during a shutdown. Tomorrow is the deadline.
You know, I was in D.C. once during a shutdown, and I was at a conference, and it was a conference about campaign finance and election law, that kind of thing. Woo-hoo. And it was very exciting. Lots of lawyers.
That sounds so much fun,
but like
Stephanie.
Federal Election Commission type stuff. So we have the first day of the conference and the government is open. And then the schedule is out for the second day. And I believe on the second day, one of the FEC commissioners was supposed to come speak. And they're like, yeah, he's not essential. And so they literally couldn't come to the government employees who were non-essential basically had to stay home. And so it totally messed up the agenda. And they said, yeah, you're not allowed to come even appear officially when the government is shut down.
Hannah at 6:15 in the morning, dripping with facetiousness. Good morning. By the way,
Good morning.
On a Feel Good Friday, one of the stories we're doing, I think 6:35. This kid walking across a bridge one day, sees a guy obviously in distress. This kid's like 13 years old. They get to having a conversation. The guy does not end up jumping off the bridge. 3 months later, he reaches back out to the kid and his family and said, hey, just so you know, things are going well. My wife is pregnant. I'm going to name my child after you. It's a beautiful story.
That's awesome.
But it got me to wondering, do you know how you got the name that you have? And Hannah has a really interesting story and what she was almost named. We're covering that. There's Mr. John Marsh.
Good morning.
Big Oktoberfest event happening in Jefferson City. Is that this weekend?
It's this weekend, tomorrow, I think, on the south side.
I'm excited for that. Last year I was there with Christopher Arps, who's here Tuesday, 6:35. It was the same weekend. Stephanie was doing another one of her fancy lawyering things in Jefferson City, or it was a GOP thing or something. It was really cool.
It was another super fun conference.
Okay, it's
This one
6:16.
was good.
Hannah is still dripping with facetiousness.
I wasn't talking to other lawyers. I was talking to what we lay people, civilians, about election integrity. So it was I had the lawyer dialed way down.
And it was really cool because I got to go, and I'm always, whenever Stephanie invites me to things like where she's honored and stuff, I think is always, I am
You're
honored.
making faces in the background on the camera to bring all the attention to you.
What was it? Zonta.
Yeah, Zonta, where she was honored this
awesome.
year.
I
And
remember at the Oktoberfest in Jefferson City last year, you and Chris Arps were accosted by one of the Democratic candidates in a local race.
Wow.
I don't think I've heard this story.
yeah, and I can't remember the guy's. Was he running against Griffith? I can't remember.
Is it the
think he
same?
was.
Is it the same guy that accosts our Facebook page every day?
I don't know if accosted was the right word, but he was actively seeking Brandon's vote.
Yeah, and I stood there the whole time like I'm listening to Ayanna Pressley saying, the border is secure, the whole time when this guy's telling me this. And he was a former teacher, cannot remember his name, but I'm just looking at him the whole time incredulously like
Like the slow blink.
yeah, like, do you really believe, Have you ever recorded yourself on your phone and then played back to listen to what you're saying? Because what you're saying, honest to goodness, dude, it don't make no sense.
Was that the guy that ran against Representative Griffith or Representative Veet? Does anybody? I don't know. I wasn't there.
I can't remember, Brian.
Yeah.
That's how inconsequential it was. I
Yeah.
don't even remember.
It must have really affected you guys.
Yeah. Also, 6:35. We'll get time. We're going to go talk about what's happening yesterday, the impeachment inquiry, what the Republicans are saying. No surprise, although there's a good portion of Republicans that are like, yeah, this is kind of silly. We'll hear what Democrats are saying. Mr. Brian Houseworth is here this morning.
Good to see you. Good morning.
By the way, can we talk about Brian's big news? Is this appropriate here?
I guess so.
Brian Houseworth is having a birthday
Happy
today.
birthday. Thank you very much.
Birthday.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So throughout the morning,
We are blessed.
we're going to be highlighting some of Brian Houseworth's greatest moments here on the show.
That runs out of electricity and you're sitting there at I-70 getting ready to cross the bridge. You call, somebody bring you a gas can, whatever. You call AAA, they bring you...
Party foul, right?
Housework.
You see this, Marsh? Houseworth is offended by our talk of
What
electric
just
vehicles.
happened?
Ran him off.
That was the morning, and I can't remember. Houseworth walked out of here in disgust. He was throwing chairs all over the place, and you could hear it in the background.
I think the chair actually broke, as I recall. The chair broke, and I think the engineer came in and fixed it as we were on.
It
I
broke.
believe-
And
It was scary because Brian 1 minute was up on the YouTube cameras, and all of a sudden he was just gone.
I'll have to see if I can find that video and maybe throw it up on the Wake Up Facebook page.
It was a good
But
one.
my favorite part about that video is that the engineering office is directly behind me, and my door was open, and you can see Brian march from our studio straight into the engineer's office like, hey, I broke a chair, and bring the engineer back with him.
And they did, and they got it fixed. To their credit, you're exactly right.
And I love Brian said, well, the chair broke. Yeah, that's what happens when you throw a chair up against the wall like that, Brian.
I understand.
And Brian did not throw a chair up against the wall. So we'll highlight some of the
Awesome.
great moments of Brian Houseworth here in Wake Up Mid-Missouri history.
Good
How
man.
old are you today?
52.
Dang it, I thought you were 53.
No, I'm 52. We're very similar. Scotty Cox, UI, Cosmo, all in the same general way.
Scotty Cox hosts mornings, one of our country stations. Cosmos on our top. We're the old white guys around here, as people are call us.
I already upset Scotty this morning.
Thanks.
How come?
So here at Zimmer, when you have a birthday, they go all out and they decorate your desk. And Scotty walks through the newsroom and he goes, oh, Brian, is it your birthday? Brian's surrounded by like helium balloons and, all these birthday decorations. I said, no, Scotty, they just decorated his desk for no reason.
Like when I was in Idaho one time, I had skis on top of my Jeep and I'm filling up gas, and dude, it was just like the scene from that movie Dumb and Dumber, and this guy says, oh, you going skiing? Like, no, I just put skis on top of my Jeep, carry them around. Coming up 5 minutes from now, Daily DC Rundown.
Keep them out of the snow.
Yeah, I don't want them to get wet in the snow. Daily DC Rundown coming up.
with Democrat senators, even as early as today, who want to do something on the border.
That's the current House Speaker Kevin McCarthy regarding the impending government shutdown. That's getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
And Thursday evening, he told reporters, "I've got time. We'll get it all done." The clock is ticking.
Sounds like me when I was in college trying to procrastinate an assignment. I got time.
I got a couple hours.
Walls are closing in.
I believe that phrase for this, John, for sure. So they really do not have a plan. And now they're really putting the pressure on Gates of saying, we are going to go ahead and vote. What is the vote? It's the vote to something McCarthy, basically remove him. And they're listing the names of folks that might be his replacement. The name that Politico is reporting is that folks are talking about Tom Emmer. He's out of Minnesota. And so when they start actually naming the folks they want to replace you with, because that was my question earlier this week, fine, make that threat. But like, what are we, if it's not McCarthy, like, what's your end goal here?
All right, you want to replace me, whatever. Let me know when you have some names. Tom Emmer?
They're ready, apparently. So they're hoping to put the pressure on and to get something done. And the parties are still working, but between the House and the Senate, they really don't have, they haven't agreed on a path forward. So, I mean,
have we heard anything more about Steve Scalise? Because they mentioned his name, but he's sick, isn't he?
I believe that's true, yeah. And so I think his name has been taken off the list from what I have heard. So, yeah, I don't know. And, you know, I mean, Brandon, if you were a betting guy, you got any odds on the shutdown versus because there are betting rings on like presidential candidates. I wonder if there is one out there in Vegas over the shutdown. I'll have to look that up.
We should create one. I love that.
All right. Also going on yesterday in Congress was the first formal impeachment hearing against the Bidens. They got real nerdy. They're doing what Wake Up Mid-Missouri is doing this week. They reviewed constitutional and legal questions involved with impeachment.
Pretty sure that's just you, Steph.
Right.
Very exciting. But they are going to eventually get into the facts. Of course, Republicans are taking some fire, saying, hey, let's stop focusing on the Bidens and focus on getting the government open. But actually, after the hearing, this is really interesting, Comer issued subpoenas for banking records from the personal and business accounts of both Hunter Biden and the president's brother, James Biden. So Comer was out there saying we've got a mountain of evidence, but apparently they're still compiling a lot of this evidence. So this weekend, I think this is really interesting. This weekend, the California is having their like statewide GOP days. The California GOP convention, Trump is going to be there along with Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy. So I think that's interesting that Trump is choosing to show up there. And I'm sure Newsom will have something to say about those guys being in his state. He also did something yesterday, which I think is crazy. California will raise their minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour. The minimum wage for all other workers, $15.50. So like if you hire like an office worker, they get $15.50, but a fast food worker gets $20.
And there's a soldier at Fort Leonard Wood right now who may not get paid going, what the?
I'm moving to California, the state.
Yikes. $20 an hour. How
based on their politics, I'd have 5 choices. Let's be honest. And I kind of hate people, hating on her.
Oh, absolutely. Because even if you didn't like her and you didn't like her music, you'd have to admit it's nice to see someone dressing as a chief besides Elizabeth Warren. I'm just saying.
So listen, I know people get frustrated. Oh, you're talking about Taylor Swift again. Sean Hannity, who's here today at 2:00, him and Jimmy Fallon, comedian, talking about Taylor Swift, the impact it's having on Missouri. I thought that was a great line, of course, in reference to Warren saying, well, I'm Native American, when she was considering a presidential run. I'll even submit to a DNA test, and upset a lot of folks because she was, what do they call that, co-opting somebody else's race or history or something like that. I thought it was a good line. Welcome to the show. Feel Good Friday edition of Wake Up Mid-Missouri. One of the things we are feeling good about today, Brian Hounsworth celebrating his 52nd birthday. We're going to highlight some of the cool things that he has done here on the show over the years. There is producer Hannah. By the way, we're talking about this government shutdown. We're going to get into the impeachment inquiry yesterday. This impending government shutdown, this could affect Hannah. So on the same day that the government could shut down, the pause on...
They're still working.
They're still working. McCarthy looked at his watch. Oh, we got time. Don't worry about this. So on October 1st, pause on student loans. That ends. And now, so this could affect Hannah as she's been doing her paperwork and stuff. You're going to have to start. Now, your first payment is not due October 1st.
Right. It's due later in the month.
But
it's due very soon.
You got time. You got time. But the point is, there's an issue with the payment already. That's the federal government at work for you.
It's more expensive than I was told it was going to be.
You mean they lied to you?
Yeah.
So she's going to have to call customer service or whoever, and there may not be customer service there. So that's the way it's going to impact members here on the show. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
And what are you feeling good about today?
That I don't have to pay my student loans anymore.
Right.
That I paid them all off. But hey, be careful though. Don't ask them to reduce your payment, because they will. And then guess what? You're only paying interest and you will never pay them off. So be very careful when asking the federal government for help.
Let me pile on the more good news that Stephanie just gave you, Hannah.
Sorry.
Stephanie is zero help when it comes to student loan stuff, because she has it way worse than I do. And she, zero sympathy, which is fine. I would be the same way.
I think my student loan payment was 4 times what your student loan payment is, but it was terrible.
More good news on a Feel Good Friday, Hannah. You're never going to pay it off anyway. Probably take forever.
Thank you.
They did that, though. They came out and they said, oh, do you want to reduce your monthly payment? And they mailed everybody this letter. And everyone's like, yeah, I want to reduce my monthly payment. And then when you read the fine print, they basically had you paying only interest and you would just pay for the rest of your life.
And that the principal just sits and sits and sits. Mr. Marsh, glad you are here with us this morning. What are you grateful for today? What are you feeling good about on a Feel Good Friday?
Feeling good to see if we can get our Missouri Tigers to go undefeated for another weekend.
Man, 5-0, Vanderbilt, and then next week, sold-out game, LSU. Ideally, Mizzou's still going to be ranked, provided they win tomorrow. If they lose, they won't be ranked anymore. LSU will likely be ranked. Could be a huge, ESPN. It may not be just the SEC network coming to town. It could be ESPN coming. And again, it's one of those minor things. There are more people in town spending a lot. Those people at ESPN, they make bank. They spend a lot of money.
It's exciting. When was the last time? I think when I was in law school, game day came here because we were ranked that was the one when I think we were ranked number 1 or in the top 10 for I don't know, a week. Do you remember this, John?
We were never ranked number 1.
Well, weren't we in
Yeah, I think in 2008 or 9, weren't we ranked number 1 for a week and then lost to Oklahoma State?
I think that's right.
Sounds right. I keep thinking SEC today coming to town when those couple of years back in the early 2010s when we captured the SEC East in football.
And Hannah, the only reason I seem to recall that Mizzou was ranked number 1, maybe one of the interns can search. When was the last time Mizzou football was ranked number 1? Because I was in Idaho at the time and I was talking trash. And got a bunch of friends together on a Saturday night, and I can't remember if it was Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, anyhow, and Mizzou was number 1, and they went into that game, and they lost. To my recollection, as much as you can trust this brain and recall, that's my recollection of that story. No longer any dispute that Biden lied. about never talking business with Hunter. That's a GOP lawmaker, Elise Stefanik, yesterday, the impeachment inquiry. And kind of a mixed bag on this. Now, one of our congressmen, Representative Jason Smith, third Missouri U.S. Senator because he chairs the Ways and Means Committee. This was his take yesterday.
We know President Biden was aware of his son's business dealings, but these documents prove that he was connected to his son's business dealings through emails, through phone calls, through dinners at the White House, to foreign trips on Air Force Two.
Here's the hard thing I have a hard time getting my head around is we have all of the, and people say, well, there's no proof. There's no proof. This is not a trial. It's not even an impeachment. It's an impeachment inquiry. There's a lower burden of proof, but isn't that kind of the idea of an impeachment inquiry? Listen, so we've heard from Devin Archer, we've heard from these ousted IRS agents, and everything points to it. Yeah, no evidence. Well, we hold the impeachment inquiry to find out about the other evidence that we can bring forward. Best, and I want to highlight the other side here, what Dems are saying. Here's the biggest defense that they have. This is Jasmine Crockett. She's a Democrat from Texas.
Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the shit to me. More evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago.
So that's Jasmine Crockett. Here's their best defense why Joe Biden should not be impeached. Because of Trump. And the documents found she was trying to say toilet bowl there, is what she was trying to say. That's their best defense. It just goes back to Trump. I was watching some of the stuff yesterday, and I'm like, how can you say there's no evidence? And the other big excuse Democrats are saying, well, it's just because Joe's losing his son, is something as Stephanie has been hot on. Remember, the White House changed the narrative, moved the goalpost, whatever you want to call it. Joe was never in business with his son or didn't know about his son's business dealings. And you got people saying, dude, I was in the room when Hunter Biden was on the phone with these countries that want to hurt us, and they were talking to Joe. We have all of this. But then they change the narrative.
And we talked about how silly that was because, like, even if you're not in business with your parent, like the fact that, because the first comment was, well, he had no idea anything about the business. And it's like, that's really implausible. And now it's come out. And so now their story is, well, he wasn't actually in business with him. Okay, the money, is being wired to your home address? You're on the phone. Like, who brings their dad to their work conference calls? I mean, literally. I'm serious. You know, I mean, unless your dad's the vice president of the United States. But I'm like, I'm like, hold on, let me get my mom on my work. I mean, we've heard that these Gen Zers, you know, like put their parents in the back of their job interview to help them out. But like,
what?
Yes.
It's an emotional support human.
And they're like, there was an article that they actually heard mom and dad's like whispering the answer during the live interview of the Zoom to like help their kid get a job, which is embarrassing, but also embarrassing having your parents have to like babysit you on your work calls. But like, yeah, I mean, my parents aren't involved in my work. They know what I do. But all of this evidence about how Biden's on the phone call, how he had meetings with the business associates, how the money is being, you know, and Hunter lived with him for a bit. So like, it makes everything that was said up until 6 months ago. I mean, I'm sure someone's done it. We should do it. Go back and get all of those comments because they were just all completely a fabrication.
Joe didn't know, and he was not involved. Your parents, they know that you're Ellinger Bell, powerful law firm in Jeff City?
Yes.
They know you own the Jefferson City trolley cars?
Yes.
Do they know that you're a host of Wake Up Mid-Missouri?
They know my titles that appear on the internet. Yes.
I don't know what Stephanie's doing nowadays. I better get onto the Google and search Stephanie Bell.
Continued on next business card.
874-9390. Gerald is in Columbia this morning. Gerald, welcome into the show. What's on your mind today?
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I was thankful for Chase Daniels. That was Chase Daniels in 2007. It was Oklahoma. We lost it with a trick play.
Last time Mizzou was ranked number one.
You were close, Brandon.
But I was going to tell you, when you look at the screen, I was watching the inquiry, and when you see the shell accounts and how all that money was moving around. It'd come into one place and then bing, 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 bing. It was like a pinball.
Yeah.
And when you see all that money moving around like that, you have to be suspicious of, because there's no way that could be not corrupt. I mean, money would come in and bounce around. And, of course, Joe Biden isn't going to say, oh, well, thank you for the gold bars. He's not stupid like what's his name.
Gerald, what are you grateful for on a Feel Good Friday?
Well, I'm grateful for I woke up. God let me wake up another day, and but I'm not grateful for the 347 pings because I'm still trying to get a job, and I'm getting pinged on my phone every 5 seconds, and it's bumming me out.
You're getting pinged on your phone looking for a job?
For jobs. It's this thing that when you get onto a job site, they'll sell your information, and it's like boom, 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 boom.
Let me ask you, how good, if you don't mind, how is it trying to look for a job right now?
If you're a caveman like me and you're not good on the phone and you can't get into your emails too good, like I just found out I had a problem with my email, so I got to go find out. It crashed again for some reason. I'm not getting. The only thing I'm getting is that junk mail.
Yeah.
And
what kind of work are you looking for?
Legal stuff that pays.
I like where your head's at, Gerald. I appreciate your sense of humor. Coming up here on a Feel Good Friday. So I just got fact-checked. I said 2008 last time a zoo was ranked number 1. I was incorrect.
Yeah, you were close, but no cigar.
That's right. I'm still technically wrong.
It was 2007. It was week 14. We were ranked number 1.
Man, and I had all my friends together. Watch what Mizzou's going to do to Oklahoma, and I was wrong. And how often do we get to fact-check Sean Hannity? He's here today at 2 o'clock. I want to fact-check something he said yesterday. We'll do that coming
steep losses. The Dow up 116 points, the S&P higher by 25, the Nasdaq rising 108.
You will be one of the first to know what the futures are at 8:25 with Stephanie Bell in the Morning Bell and Business News. And if you haven't checked it out, because I'm one of those, even as a 52-year-old guy, likes to pay attention to what's happening with at least my money. I don't care what happens with your money, but I care. And I do. I care about what happens with
I don't
your
know.
money.
You tried to give away my salary often.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to because I care about my money.
Oh.
That's why I don't bet my money, John. I bet the house's money, and the house's money is Hannah's money. But it's business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Because a lot of times when I hear, listen, I pay attention to what's going on, but when I hear business reports on stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear some old dude droning about this and that. But it's Stephanie Bell and the way she does it. It's very cool. We'll do that at 8:25. And I wanted to mention this too. You know, we talk about the economy and what's happened under Bidenomics, despite the fact Biden says he rebuilt the economy. I promise you, he really said those words. I rebuilt the economy. I'm just like, what? I hope that does not scare you from supporting businesses here in mid-Missouri. I know it doesn't, make you sour like, well, I better not go and spend money. And I hope as a business owner, you continue to market your business and things like that. I hope you continue to go out and do that. Spend some money. You see John Marsh at Oktoberfest this weekend in Jefferson City, which, I'm not super huge into cars, but the car show at Oktoberfest last year, that was incredible, man. It really was.
Yeah, they bring up some pretty nice ones, don't they?
Yeah, I think somebody's even a casual fan of automobiles. Like, hey, it's pretty good. Spend some money at Oktoberfest.
Hey, we got a traffic alert coming in, speaking of Jefferson City. Traffic delayed in the area of the westbound Missouri River Bridge due to a traffic crash. So if you're headed in from the north into Jefferson City, might take it easy and, I don't know, swing through the drive-through.
All right, we have another traffic note from one of our interns. All 3 lanes across the Missouri River Bridge southbound are closed. My goodness. Is that how we're starting a Feel Good Friday here in mid-Missouri?
Good.
Last time this happened, I had a 5-hour commute into work. I should have just stayed home.
Is it possible we're talking about the same one and there's just skewed details?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
Back to
that would be the same Missouri River Bridge they're referring to.
I'm not real good with my cardinal directions, so I might have screwed that one up.
Back to Oktoberfest. Don't they have a wiener dog race and like a costume contest? That's what I would go for.
You know what I'd really love to see at Oktoberfest here in mid-Missouri, any Oktoberfest, whether we're in Herman, Sedalia, wherever, is where they have the monkeys, little, I think they're called capuchin weepers, those little monkeys that sometimes people keep as pets, and they ride dogs. They ride the dogs like
little jockeys.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I would love to see that. How often? So I just got fact-checked on the show. I was talking about next Saturday's Mizzou home game, LSU. Both teams, if Mizzou wins, will be ranked. We'll get ready for the Tiger tailgate with Buffalo Wild Wings, Bud Light, high noon. Echo Water Systems, Hy-Vee, Twain Barbecue, and Tap Room. Go to the website, 939theeagle.com and kwos.com. We got details on those websites, how you can come join us for free. It's going to be, so far, the biggest game of the year for Mizzou. And I said last time Mizzou was ranked number 1, it was 2008. I was wrong. It was the year
2007.
But how often do we get to fact check Sean Hannity, who's here every day?
He's pretty on it.
He is. He is on it. This is Sean Hannity last night.
It's amazing how many people are talking about this. It's amazing the ratings for the football game.
He's talking about Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and our Kansas City Chiefs.
Went sky high because Taylor Swift is dating the Kansas City Chiefs star, tight end Travis Kelce. And with rumors already swirling, speculation soared over the weekend. She was spotted in the box at the Chiefs game with his family, and reports now say she's going to make an appearance at his home game in New York with the Jets, who are really...
Fact check. It's not a home game. It'll be in New York. It's not a fact check, obviously, being facetious. So when you say something like that, we say things we get wrong once in a while. It's not intentional. But when you say things like, I rebuilt the economy, that is a lie. When you say things like Ayanna Pressley, the border is secure, that's not a misspeak.
I didn't know anything about Hunter's business dealings.
That is not a misspeak. That is a lie. Coming up here on the show this morning for you on a Feel Good Friday. How often do you do the Zoom calls?
More than I would like.
Amen. One cool thing that you could do immediately to make a better impression on your Zoom calls. We'll check in show, guys. Let me ask you, I want to get your opinion, John. We'll take 3.5 hours of just a montage of Biden's lies. I did this, I did that.
I didn't take confidential documents, remember that? Or classified documents, and they just show up in the garage.
I drove a bus. I beat up Corn Pop. Any of these, we could string together a montage, and there would be no Hannah in the show, and no Marsh, no Steph, no Houseworth, no me. It would just be a 3.5 hour montage of these blatant lies that Biden has told. And then you could ask yourself, but I believe him, because this is what Democrats are doing. Think about the stupidity here. And then believe that I didn't know anything about what Hunter. Well, okay, I knew, but then I was not involved in it. I don't think anybody with some common sense would go, oh, but this is the one thing, the business dealings with his kid, with these countries. That's the one thing I believe him about. That is just insane. So impeachment inquiry yesterday is kind of the same thing. They're presenting more evidence. The argument from progressives, there is no evidence. This is not a trial. It's not a trial. It's not an impeachment trial. It's an impeachment inquiry. When you have testimony of former IRS agents and Devin Archer, and then the biggest thing, and I think Steph's been right on this from the get-go, the way the White House subtly changed the language in their statements about what Joe did or did not know about his kids' dealings.
It went from I don't know anything about his business dealings to I'm not in business with him, which are two very different things.
Very, very different things. Don't believe it for 1 minute.
And remember when the former president Donald Trump tried to bring up these very issues during the 2020 debates, the national media did very, very little coverage. I believe Facebook didn't even pick it up.
That's right. They were blackballed by Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. And so if you're newer to talk radio and you're frustrated by what's been going on, you're frustrated because you got less money, even though maybe you're getting paid more money, you still have less money. Listen, you get a raise at work, that's awesome. And I'm thinking about 15,000, how many state employees in Cole County, not just in Missouri, John, but in Cole County. Is it approaching 15,000 employees that work at least in Cole County?
Yeah, right around there.
So you look at all those state employees in the raises that they got, that 8% raise, I think that Governor Parson signed for them. That's not a raise when the President of the United States is pushing Bidenomics on you. That's not a raise. So if you're newer to talk radio, trying to figure out how things go, this is what people, and the phrase that you'll hear a lot is mainstream media. I don't like to use it. It's an overused cliche, but the national news outlets. So when they do those things, the Hunter Biden laptop story, that was 2019 that had started going on. Twitter blackballed them. Everybody blackballed them. That is what people mean when they say mainstream media is in cahoots with progressives. They all these liberal grads of journalism schools, this is what they're taught in school, and they back these progressive ideas. That's what people mean. Welcome into the show. There's Brian Houseworth.
Good to see you. Fox News did cover it. Obviously,
yeah.
They did. Yeah. They did. Yeah. And a few other outlets did, but it just wasn't picked up. But good to see you, and good morning.
Good morning. By the way, we have something interesting to tell you about Brian today here. Are you nervous, Brian?
No, it'll all be good.
It is a Feel Good Friday, and we are wearing red. As a matter of fact, if you watch on our YouTube channel, you see we're all wearing red, and there's a reason. Here's why we do it. Every morning, we all call each other about 2:30 in the morning. Steph, what should we wear today? And Steph makes wardrobe suggestions. And then I call Hannah. Hannah calls Brian. And then next on the phone tree is John Marsh. And we all wear red. We do it every single morning.
It is kind of weird how often we end up in similar colors.
But note, he said, I just make suggestions because my suggestion every day is maybe you should wear real shoes.
Oh, Stephanie, you will be glad to know that he's getting rid of that one jacket that you love so much.
Which jacket?
The suit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling him yesterday that you're always like, we've got to get him more than one suit jacket.
Well, I just, so I have several sport jackets. I have one suit, and I only have one suit because it's seldomly do I wear a suit.
Okay,
my father,
John.
You lost weight, too.
Yeah.
Okay, John Fetterman.
My father-in-law calls his one suit his funeral suit.
Right.
Yeah. The governor's prayer breakfast, funerals.
Just wear sweatpants.
And if I have to, a wedding. By the way, tick-tock, Hannah.
I'm aware.
Tick-tock.
Yep.
Are you getting nervous as we get closer to your wedding?
Yes.
And you should.
I Are you getting more nervous now that Brandon's asking you if they're nervous?
No, I mean, I'm not nervous for the whole marriage thing and, the act of being married. Like, that part doesn't scare me. It's just all the crap I have to do between now and the wedding.
That's why I am adamantly against marriage. I'm not against marriage. I'm against weddings.
Also, you know what's not fair at all?
What's that?
The standards for grooms are so low.
That's right.
Like, my fiance, he's been great about being involved in the process and helping me make decisions. And everyone that we talk to is like, yeah, you just got to show up on the day of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that must be so nice for grooms out there.
I had like a 2-week scheduled salon schedule thing. And then, of course, we were up at like 6 a.m. to do hair and makeup. And we definitely have pictures of Chris and our groomsmen playing basketball like an hour before the wedding in the church gym.
Yes.
Wow. Sitting on the tailgate having some liquid courage.
By the way, John, quick, can you update us on the Missouri River Bridge on a Feel Good Friday in Jefferson City?
Apparently we've got, some jam traffic at Jefferson City, westbound Missouri River Bridge. That is coming into Jefferson City. Accident tying up traffic on the bridge. So you might want to avoid that neck of the woods or get stuck in it for a while.
And that really ties in with the tri-level. That in many ways. Not
Happy Feel Good Friday.
Yeah. I hate to bring up the tri-level, but it's that ties in with it. It really does. A wreck like that could be just a mess.
So when you have road issues, potholes, things like that, you can call MoDOT and say, hey, can you? Will somebody please call MoDOT and say, can you just blow up the tri-level, please? 874-9390, 874-9390. The other thing that's happening appears likely government shutdown tomorrow. I don't have anything new to add to that. I feel bad. There's at least like 35, I think, according to the Kansas City Star, roughly 35,000 federal civilian employees here in Missouri. And then we talk about, military personnel. And I don't know the counts of how many military personnel at Fort Leonard Wood and Whiteman and other ancillary positions of people that are supposed to be paid by the federal government. And the other thing I think about that, if one of our listeners has been texting us this morning, he's one of the folks that's going to be affected. And I asked him, his name is Charles, I'm like, are you worried? And he says, no, it's not my first rodeo. More concerned if the government will have any money to pay me at my retirement.
Wow.
Well, and I think this happened last time, wasn't it? I think it was 13, and it was shut down. The government was shut down for like 2 weeks.
Correct.
But then I remember come next April, everyone was trying to get their tax refunds, and they were like 4 and 5 months behind, and they're like, well, the shutdown. And we're like, you were shut down for 2 weeks. Why is this taking 6 months?
Yeah.
And but they blamed that. So then whenever they had a delay or whatever, they were blaming the shutdown and just like, well, you'll see your money when you see it. So it could end up affecting you.
And it should work like this. Somebody barstool knowledge of politics. If the government is shut down and they're not paying some of these people, then I should not have to pay taxes to the federal government, in my opinion, while the government's shut down.
Unfortunately, that's not the way it works.
Good luck with that.
That is interesting. I would also
law enforcement will be paid, right? Federal law enforcement.
Exactly. And I would also say, Brandon, we should mention, you mentioned, federal employees and stuff, but the FBI does have, and so does the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Christopher Bond Courthouse in Jefferson City. That's quite it's a pretty large facility. The building's huge. The number of employees, not so huge. There's probably 100 or so that work in there. I mean, going ballpark.
That's being generous.
Yeah, in a lot of empty spaces, but at times, because some of them come in from Kansas City and work there as well. So that'd be a guesstimate on my part. But those folks could be impacted as well.
Back to weddings. If you said to somebody what Stephanie just said, okay, we're going to have to get up at 6 in the morning, we're going to get hair did, we got to do this, and we got to rush here, we got to get the food, we got to do all this. If you told somebody we're going to do all this, but you didn't include the context that it's a wedding, is there anybody who would say, that sounds fun, I think let's do that on Saturday? Very few people would do that. Because
but then let's end the night with a party of all of your favorite people.
With free booze.
Yeah.
Let's watch Mizzou football, and then let's end the night with the booze and party. That sounds way better to me.
Wow, I wonder why it didn't work out for you.
Right? Twice. All 3 lanes across Missouri River Bridge southbound closed right now. We're keeping an eye on that for you. And we're celebrating a very special day, Mr. Brian Houseworth.
Thank you, sir.
Celebrating a birthday.
We should sing to him.
John, you can. You start.
You go first.
Yeah, John, you start. We'll join in.
It's called social proof. Somebody else does something, and then we'll all fall in line and do it because, well, that's...
Ooh, I don't think we need to beat up on Brian on his birthday.
That's a good point, though. Brian's probably the best singer on the show, and when
by
we get
far and away.
and when we get karaoke Brian is my favorite Brian. I think when he just randomly busts into song.
So we're going to highlight some of our favorite moments with Brian Houseworth here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, including him singing. But this was from a newscast, I think, and I can't remember specifically what it was about.
Right. He says Thursdays are normally called something called Thirsty Thursday. He says, though, it was extremely...
I don't know why I thought that.
Brian's never been to a Thirsty Thursday, apparently.
I don't remember that story, but that might have been something at the Lake of the Ozarks. I'm not sure, but...
And this was another one. Okay. And I normally would not take stuff from a newscast because I do respect the credibility here at Zimmer, but it's an old newscast, and it was kind of funny, so I don't care.
That's all right.
This was regarding, I think when they were trying to clear out the homeless encampment with all the big dump trucks and all the earth-moving equipment. That's how bad it was. Brian.
I know which clip you're going to play, and I'm so excited.
And however, there are some critics of the plan. Some of the homeless people do not like it. And then Steve Jake.
That is factually correct.
That is true. Yes.
Right. We love you, brother.
Hey,
right, Brian?
It's all good. Yes, I remember that. It's all good. Thank you, guys.
7:25-ish. We're going to be doing What's Hot with Hannah.
What do Joe Exotic and Joe Burrow have in common?
It's coming up 5 minutes from now here.
They do. They call Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie Brangelina. They call AOC and her husband morons.
That's pretty good.
Just telling jokes.
That's comedian / Politico Jimmy Fallon on Sean Hannity last night. Sean Hannity. And they spent 5 minutes about this, and I'm like you listening this morning. And by the way, I hope you're not caught in the thing on the Missouri River Bridge going into Jefferson City. What's the update there? All 3 lanes across Missouri River Bridge southbound closed. John, I know you've been hopping trying to get the latest info for folks.
That was the latest we heard. So, yeah, might want to hang loose if you're headed in from the north into Jefferson City. Like Brandon said, jam traffic on the bridge.
I actually just got a text alert. It says officers are clear of the westbound bridge accident, but they're now out with another injury accident on the Highway 63 over 54 overpass.
Well, I hope everybody's okay. Just wanted to give you the heads up. So if you're heading into work and you got to be there by 7:30, well, you're screwed at this point because
Happy Friday.
Having sat there for like 4.5 hours a month ago now, just make sure you use the bathroom before you leave your house and pack some snacks. I was hangry by the time I got into
And you were upset because didn't you have to cancel a bunch of salon appointments?
I did.
And what do you do in that situation? Seriously, like if you're in that traffic this morning, you can always text us 573-874-93.
Wasn't that the same stretch of highway, Steph, that Reed Millard sent us the picture of the big dump ahead?
I think so.
On the highway sign?
Because, we're getting some text. Traffic backed up. The Holtz Summit backed almost to the Center Street exit. And these are just listener texts. So, I'm not saying, hey, what they're saying is wrong, but this obviously quick to change. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Sean Hannity, who's here today at 2 o'clock, this is how this thing is. And I'm with you, man. I get it. Taylor Swift, that's cool. Respect the work ethic and all that good stuff. Incredibly successful. I'm appreciating what she's doing for Chiefs fans. I'm appreciating what she's. We already know about the economic impact she made in Missouri earlier this year when she played a concert. And then the Travis Kelce jersey sales, name recognition for the Chiefs. Heck, they had the Empire State Building all lit up in red and white the other day. I would like to say it was for the Chiefs. The truth is it was probably for the ketchup and ranch thing, but still, it's pretty cool because it's bringing a lot of attention to our Chiefs.
StubHub is reporting that ticket sales for Kansas City home games are up by 20% already.
So there is some impact. Remember, impact from her fans. So there's a bunch of folks. The Taylor Swift fans that probably don't know anything about the Kansas City Chiefs, and they do now. I think it's kind of cool. Maybe Sean will talk about it later. Can you imagine that? Because I get it. People say, why are you talking about Taylor Swift? I know. I get it. I'm with you. But she's
good for the economy.
Yeah.
Stephanie has been talking about a really funny, basically prank that women have been pulling on their significant others when it comes to Taylor Swift.
It's hilarious. And so they will film their husbands and they're just chilling, like at dinner or just hanging out, just unsuspecting poor husbands. And the wife's like, I think it's really great how Taylor Swift's put, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Travis Kelce? I think it's just great how she's put him on the map. And they're like, the look on their face was like, excuse me? And they're like, no, I mean, she's just doing so much for his career, and they're like, you mean like he won the Super, and they just like have a conniption and
they get so mad.
Yeah, but the wives are totally in on it, and it is just, it's amazing. And now I've seen all the T-shirts that they're Chiefs colors and they say, go Taylor's boyfriend.
Wow.
I love that.
He's going to be the new Isaac Rochelle. Nobody knows who that is? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, who's that?
I'll explain
later. As long
later.
as he doesn't end up the new Nick Jonas, it's all
But
good.
the Taylor Swift people, I mean, remember when the Nicki Minaj people came after, was it Nicki Minaj? Yeah.
Came after you?
Yeah, and they were like, fierce. They were intense, and I was scared for my life, and now we're all besties, and it's great. But I will say, Swifties are even, I think, that more numerous and crazier. And I mean, people have said, like, I hope Travis Kelce, if this goes wrong, is like ready to take Elon's spacecraft to the moon because he will not survive like the ire of the Swiftie clan because they will take him down.
And I think on the flip side of that coin, all these people pranking their husbands like, man, Taylor Swift just put this Travis Kelce on the map. Then there's a bunch of dudes like my age and maybe older going, who's Taylor Swift?
No one is saying that.
Welcome into the show. Feel Good Friday. You know, if she is that powerful for somebody who is already incredibly famous, matter of fact, the Saturday Night Live episode that he hosted, I think it was earlier this year, was one of the higher rated episodes of SNL in the past couple of years. People know who he is. But if she can increase your popularity like that, you know who she should date next? Like Ron DeSantis or something.
He has a wife.
It doesn't matter.
That is
It's Hollywood.
beautiful.
They wouldn't get
How about
along.
Aaron Rodgers?
They
Not doing
would-
anything now.
They would not get along. Their politics don't quite align.
Producer Hannah is here. Good morning, Hannah.
Hello.
That's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's Mr. Marsh.
Yes, sir.
My name is Branden Rathert, 874-9390. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel, Wake Up Mid-Missouri. You can also watch on Facebook, and you'll see that we're wearing red today, and that's not coincidence. That is intentional.
To remember everyone deployed.
It's really cool. We just like doing it maybe. So we're not saying, hey, look at what we're doing. We're good people. We wear red to remember everyone deployed. We do it to maybe encourage you to wear red. And it is cool, I think, when you go out in public. And also, by the way, you get onto our Wake Up Mid-Missouri video feed on YouTube. Cool thing to do in the morning. You run around the house getting busy and getting ready and everything. And you can put it on the TV. You get your local news traffic updates. Like we've been paying attention to some of the traffic issues that we have had this morning. So it's a cool thing. People and businesses are starting to put it up in their businesses too and watching what's happening and how these things impact you, how they hit you upside the head this morning. And we have some pretty cool background. It looks good. And I'm not saying that we necessarily look good, but like the background is really cool.
There's days every once in a blue moon where we have to take the background down for events, and it looks so empty in there.
It looks naked.
It does.
But this
Looks like a
article is
warehouse.
Yeah.
Well, this article is telling us we're doing it wrong, I think.
So there's, of course, we know the other thing that happened during the government pandemic, more and more folks utilizing video calls for work purposes. Zoom, obviously, is the big one we think of, and now there's a study. So what can you do if you're conducting business? 300 million people worldwide using Zoom on a regular basis. And you think about everything that you're prepped for your topic, your job, you dress nice, you do all of these things. But what about when you're doing a business call? What can you do on your very next Zoom call, whether it's later today, whether it's Monday? What's something I could do immediately to enhance a Zoom call?
2 things.
Okay.
Plants. And
Plants?
bookcases in your background.
So we need to get some cactus in here.
Oh, we've got plenty of pricks.
Yikes.
Righty then.
Ouch. Ouch. Now this
Sorry,
is
you
an
just,
actual.
you just teed me up, and I couldn't help it.
All right, we'll save that for winner of the week.
That is the funniest thing and most accurate thing I have heard on this show in a long time.
You're welcome.
Wow, thank you. Seriously.
All right, there was an actual study, a serious study. Researchers from Durham University in the UK analyzed the backgrounds of 167 different images.
I love you, Hannah. I really do.
Shots fired.
And they said, how do we seem smarter?
Wait till you find out what you said about, wait till Brian finds out what you said about him.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie's getting mad.
This is important stuff. But seriously, they said if you want people to think that you're competent, you know, what so they looked at all these photos and they said, what's your initial impression? And people who had books behind them and plants were seen as more trustworthy and more competent than those people who were just were in their average living space. And you hadn't heard of this, Branden, but I was all over this early. I loved this. There's a Twitter account, and you have to be able to laugh because it is super liberal, okay? But it's called Room Rater, and its actual at Twitter is Rate My Skype Room, which tells you how old this account is. But now, too, you have all these journalists who are doing spots on TV, and they're doing them from their homes. And so they take stills of these folks in their office or home, and then they give you an out of 10 and then say, and a lot of times people get points for either art or plants or lighting. But I think it matters. I bought all these fancy ring lights and other things, and I have bookcases and plants in my shot in my office. So I am, 10 out of 10.
Are they real bookcases? Or are they just like those cardboard cutout things like
No.
you buy from IKEA or something?
They are real bookcases, but I think that's hilarious because just having books behind you doesn't mean like you actually read the books, right? I mean, anybody can pose in front of a bookcase and put up a plant. I will say, I have plants. My biggest struggle is keeping my plants alive. But there's some, I like to go, so my office is in downtown. I like to go down River City. I think they have plant sales on Friday if you need a plant for your Zoom background. But I occasionally have to replace my plants because I don't think dead plants get too many points in your Zoom background.
We just got a great text from Craig at 874-9390. He said the best background that we made for Zoom calls at work was we went in and took a picture of the men's bathroom stall at an angle so that it looked like you were sitting on the toilet while you were talking. He said it was epic.
Winner of the week, 835. By the
good.
way, and here's the other big thing people are talking about on text at 573-874-9390 is Hannah's cactus comment. Whoa.
Some of my better work.
That would be number one of all time. I think of all the great things that you've ever done on this show, the great funny things you've said, the smart, intelligent things that you've said. I make it sound like you're leaving or something, don't I? That is by far.
Yeah, don't start any rumors, please.
That's the best. And don't do things that I know from experience you should not do on Zoom. Do not fall asleep on the couch during a Zoom meeting.
That is one of the funniest stories that came out of the pandemic.
Wear your pants.
Wear your pants.
Don't Jeffrey Tubin it. Those are things you should not be doing. But
They said your background choice is more important than your clothing choice. Is that insane? That's insane. But I'm super nosy. Whenever I'm on the call with somebody, I'm totally looking at what's in their background. And I'm like, is that their house? Like, it's really small. Or like, I mean, a lot of these people in the city, they're like in their bedroom and you're like, yikes, I would not want to live in a shoebox apartment.
Or the ones that get me sometimes are kind of cluttered with all the I love me stuff all over the walls behind them.
Oh, my gosh.
Do not mean to interrupt you. Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90, according to Fox News. Breaking news, Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90. Fox News is reporting just how fast this has happened. So they're already on to, okay, so now what do we do next? So we'll take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to check in with John Marsh. That would be all except for this. Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed away at the age of 90. We'll have more on that coming up in a few minutes. And
gained some of the month's steep losses. The Dow up 116 points, the S&P higher by 25, the Nasdaq rising 108.
You'll be one of the first to know how the stock market is opening this morning at 8:25. We can do the Morning Bell business news with a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
We are learning more after an event. What is next for Meta, formerly known as Facebook?
Sorry. Before we get into John Marsh's, that would be all except for this. Fox News, various news outlets reporting Senator Dianne Feinstein has died. Senator Dianne Feinstein dead at the age of 90. This according to ABC7 out of San Francisco, where she is from. Her career was one of many firsts. She was the first woman president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And back, especially when she was doing that stuff, that was pretty impactful and pretty important. At that time, she was the first female mayor of San Francisco. She was one of the first 2 women elected to the United States Senate from the state of California. Senator Dianne Feinstein, dead at the age of 90.
And that would be all, except for this.
Is that awkward? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, John.
That's kind of a hard to follow segment there.
I apologize.
Here we go. A lot of single Disney fans out there looking for their happily ever after, or maybe to hook up with Goofy, or to get jiggy with Minnie. This is where the cheesy new dating site Mouse Mingle comes in to make all your wishes come true. It's named after Mickey Mouse. The founder came up with the idea. He said it was hard to find women who share his ardent passion for all things Disney. He says, I tried to tell my friends, but there was no way to narrow down the searches to find women the right distance and age range who love Disney. So Mouse Mingle costs you $12.55 a month. You can private message and join online chats with other Disney fans. So it would open up a whole new world of romantic possibilities. No word if you'd be able to get, I don't know, with Pluto for the weekend or go skinny dipping with a Little Mermaid. But it is a small world, after all.
Oh, John.
Now you know the rest of that story.
That is
bizarre. Disney adults are a whole breed of their own.
I mean,
and
if
it's
I had
awkward.
Yeah, if I had to list like top 10 icks, Disney adult would probably be on it. And so I'm
You're
glad
kind of
these people
hitting
are
that furry boundary a little bit, aren't we?
I'm glad they're self-selecting into a different app. That way, for the regular folks.
I mean, there's farmers only. There's black people meet. Now we have Disney adults.
Websites for people who are rich, for dating websites for people who are rich. There's all kinds of different niches out there.
Isn't there one for like conservatives though? Didn't we? Is that one still going?
I don't know. I haven't been in the market for a while, so.
Good point.
Brandon, I think you'd be the best expert on this.
One time I used a dating site. I'd never use them because I didn't need to and didn't want to.
I didn't need to.
Didn't need to. But when I first moved here 8 years ago, I thought, I'll try it because nobody here knew who I was. And that's still true today. So when I first moved here, I thought, because I don't want somebody going on, why is this guy from the radio station? He's on there. And I tried it, and it was a monumental pain. It was too much work. I don't want to, talk to people beforehand and stuff. It was a lot of work.
Yikes.
Coming up, Fox News here in just a few minutes. Senator Dianne Feinstein has died at the age of 90, according to news reports, first emanating out of San Francisco, where she was from. Now, national news outlets on this. Senator Dianne Feinstein is dead at the age of 90, and a lot of firsts which were important for women back in the 60s and 70s. First female mayor of San Francisco, one of the first 2 U.S. women elected to the U.S. Senate from California. Fox, he's going
Does that narrow down the Dems' majority to 1 now in the Senate?
So overall, yeah, technically I think there's more Republicans than there are Democrats in the Senate, but you've got 3 independents who caucus with the Dems. But yeah, that's the next thing we will be looking at. Fox News I don't care if you're in Sedalia, if you're in Fulton, if you're in Holt Summit, ask somebody, ask anybody of any political persuasion, do you think Joe's rebuilt the economy? You will get a resounding no. That is a liar. Big story right now. Learning within the past half hour that U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein is dead at the age of 90. ABC 7 out of San Francisco. Senator Dianne Feinstein died at the age of 90. She was the first woman president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, first female mayor of San Francisco, one of the two first women elected to the United States Senate from California. And I'm going to say this right now. We're not going to get into the thing about the age and who should be resigning. That's a conversation that we will have on Monday. And I will say this, though. Some of the things that she did, and I do grow wearisome of they're the first this and that to do this, and that's fine. What she was doing in that time in the 60s and 70s as a female thought leader, it was a pretty big deal.
Huge.
It was a huge deal. She is dead at the age of 90.
Yeah, and I'm looking back because when she had her health issues before, the AP ran a story about what happens, if something were to happen to her. And so
that's got to be reassuring, by the way, when you're battling a health issue and they're running headlines like that. That's got to stink.
But you're also in the Senate.
And you're 90.
And the makeup is really close. And so I think the AP knew, these are the questions people are asking. She's not in great health. What happens? And they said that Newsom gets to appoint her replacement if the seat becomes vacant. And then they cited to, I guess, in 2021, he was actually asked about it and said he promised to appoint a black woman should her seat become open. Now, that was back in 2021. But then since this time, people have started announcing for her seat. So there's actually a kind of a contest going on. Would she, have lived? She was not going to run again. They are already announcing. And so I think there are 3 people that had on the Democrat side that Schiff had announced.
Katie, the congresswoman out there.
Yes, Katie Porter, is that right?
Yeah, very Republicans don't care for her at all, but she's very popular with progressives.
And then Adam Schiff, and then also this Representative Barbara Lee.
Yeah, very, and she's got a huge following on the progressive side.
Sure, so you got to wonder, will Newsom, limit his picks to those 3 that are already in the race, or, would he go outside that? And then the other question, that I have is, what's the timing? I don't know what the timing is, but I think that's a question a lot of people have.
And I would just add just one thing. The headline in the Washington Post says this, quote, and then I think both sides that are going to disagree with this headline, Dianne Feinstein, centrist stalwart of the Senate dies at 90. Conservatives would definitely dispute that, but progressives thought she was too moderate, if you will. So, I mean, it is, that is interesting. You mentioned what she did in her life. There was a movie called Milk. I don't know if people remember the movie.
Sean Penn?
Yeah, very, very big movie, probably about 10 years ago. And she was, it happened in the 70s, as I recall, but she was actually mentioned in that, and she was featured in that. So she was already doing work then when that was going on.
Senator Dianne Feinstein passes away at the age of 90. We'll know more impacts. What this is going to mean is Stephanie, John Marsh, Brian Hausworth trying to follow this. We look at the makeup of the U.S. Senate because there are some political implications besides the health stuff, which we're not going to get into. And apparently, and here's the part that's kind of, I think my politics aside, this is Chad Pergram from Fox.
Senator Feinstein voted yesterday morning.
24 hours, she's dead. And that reminds, and I don't want to get all corny, but you think about sometimes, regardless of you're 90 or if you're in a car accident or something happens, how quickly.
That's right.
Just like that, it happens. Reminds me of a story. We were going to share this earlier on a Feel Good Friday. His 13-year-old kid walking across a bridge, and he sees a guy. I can't remember what state this happened in. But he sees this guy, and he's sitting on the side of the bridge, and this 13-year-old kid says to this dude, like, hey, man, are you okay? And, Jamie is his 16-year-old kid is his name. And he could tell the guy was not doing well. And he hangs out with this guy, and they just talk for 45 minutes. This guy, getting ready to jump, all distraught about life and stuff. The guy doesn't jump. keeps in touch with the kid, this young man, and his family. 3 months later, he contacts the family and says, hey, man, I just wanted you to know, thank you for what you did that day. Thanks for just taking the time to talk to me. I'm doing well today, and my wife is pregnant, and we're going to name our firstborn. We're going to name our child after you.
That's awesome.
Kid's name was Jamie. So I think about how quick something like you talk about Feinstein, who's dead at the age of 90, voted yesterday morning, and today it's the number one story, obviously, in the country right now. She's dead at the age of 90, but it's that quick.
Well, and it's a good reminder, and we've heard the reminder on the show, too, to reach out and tell people that they're doing awesome or that you love them while they're living, because so many people wait, and they're like, gosh, I wish I would have had a chance to say that. And, we've heard... We have been known to get some hate mail here and there, and people are quick on Facebook or on email to fire up and send a complaint. But when's the last time you sent someone that said, something that said, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing at your job or in your life. I just really appreciate you in my life. It's a good reminder for us all.
Yeah. And take time to do that, because most of the time the only thing we hear are people, complaining. Mm-hmm. And, that can be frustrating.
Brian, I thought it was interesting that you brought up the whole thing with Harvey Milk and the movie and all that, because that was the deal where the mayor of San Francisco was assassinated along with the city supervisor or whatever, and then Dianne Feinstein fell right into the role of mayor, right?
Yes, she did. It was Mayor Moscato. I believe it was Mayor Moscato. Sean Penn did a lot of our listeners don't care for his politics, but he did the acting in that was really, it was based on what really happened. But yeah, it was Moscato. There was another man that was killed too, but I can't remember his name.
Harvey Milk was the city supervisor, exactly. the title character.
Milk. Yeah. It was Moscato, the second one I was thinking of then.
And I want to take this opportunity to let Hannah know how much I appreciate her for what she said about 740 this morning. Wow.
Very pointed comment, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, even I'm impressed at how fast that came out of my mouth.
I'm not kidding. And the years that we've been here doing this, Hannah has had some incredible one-liners. It's one of the things we love about Hannah. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons kind of that you're here. When we first met Hannah, she was a 15-year-old kid in class, Centralia High School.
The details change every time.
She was a 14-year-old kid in the 8th grade.
I was 3.
In her trigonometry class. And she was texting the show, Facebook and stuff, and the 15-year-old kid, an interest in politics and stuff. And then anyhow, we got to Facebook, and we would do this thing. I call them, they're puns, but I call them Hannah-isms because they're next level puns, and it's one of the reasons she's here today. But what she said this morning, 7:40, holy cow. She's a winner of the week, and if you missed what she said at 7:40, please. And if you know somebody who's like never listened to the show because it's all politics, it's cranking. No, say, will you do me a favor and listen at about 8:35 when we pick winners and losers of the week, and we feature what Hannah said or did.
See, I think I've peaked. I think it's probably just time for me to leave because
all downhill from here.
Yeah, I'm not going to top that, so I'm just going to, deuce out.
Yeah. Senator Dianne Feinstein, dead at the age of 90 right now here on the show. Not only were we celebrating producer Hannah and really everybody on the show, but I love those comments. Appreciate people while we're here. There was a guy, and I can't remember, this would have been early, mid-'80s. There was a legendary talk show host on a legendary news talk station in St. Louis, my grandma Sel, the one who died at the age of 99 and a half. She ate raw oysters and drank beer and told dirty jokes until the day she died. But I remember this guy died of a heart attack in a swimming pool or something, but very popular St. Louis radio host. And I remember me sitting there at my grandma Stell's house, and I was eating some of those hard butterscotch candies out of her dish and everything, and we were talking about this. And she said then, she says, that's why all these people are coming out and saying all these great things about this guy and all this. And she says, I agree with everything. But she says, why didn't we do that yesterday?
That is spot on. I
do that the day before.
I don't have a good answer on that. We try to emphasize being positive, but that's important because, like I said, many times, and whether you work at a store, or whether you work at a restaurant, or whether you're a frontline employee, or whether you're a radio host, you generally only hear negative things, especially in this day and age. There was a vice president named Spiro Agnew who had a famous quote. He called people nattering nabobs of negativism. I don't know if people remember that, but I always, when I hear people complaining, I think of old Spiro.
And so one of the other people that we are celebrating this morning is Brian Houseworth, who is celebrating a birthday today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
We thought we'd do some of the great does everybody agree? Was it kind of the karaoke thing that Houseworth inadvertently did one morning that's probably one of the favorite moments, at least?
It's on the hit list for sure.
Yes.
Here's another one on the hit list.
They're probably not something I can talk about on the air.
They're porn bots.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw that and I wondered what happened.
There's like 30 of them, maybe 40 of them.
What was the post that all of a sudden porn bots are reacting
It was about
to?
join Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Brian Houseworth, and Hannah the producer for Wake Up Mid-Missouri, 5:30 on both.
Here comes the artificial intelligence.
It was that, and that just
one of our great moments from Brian Houseworth.
I remember that. Yes, and we did. It were the really dirty porn bots too,
and a lot of
really
them.
Dirty, very.
Brian, I'm so proud of you. You said it. You said porn bots.
Yeah, well, they I didn't know what they were there, but we had to block them. They were really offensive.
And now you know.
It's like the time I had to add the eggplant emoji to the automatically filtered out section on the Facebook page.
Oh, yes.
And I still have no idea what the eggplant means. Coming up, 8:25, Morning Bell Business News with a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Meta had a big event this week, and most of the time, these new products, I'm like, I don't need that headset thing, but there are some products on the list that I am
Morning Bell business news with a little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Well, usually when we get like new technology, I would say I'm somewhat of an early adopter, but then I hold out on certain things. And the thing that I haven't really gotten into is VR headsets or whatever. They just seem like big and clunky. And I'm like, who would walk around with that? You've tried one, right?
We did one with, I think it was Love Columbia a couple of years ago. They were doing a big wall climbing thing, and it's an interesting experience.
It was interesting to watch Branden with the headset on.
Yeah, I'm like, why? And they've been very expensive, and then like only certain people. Like, who are you meeting exactly in the metaverse? I don't know. All right, wait, we missed our futures. So futures are in the green. This morning, up. Wow, Nasdaq is up almost a full percentage point. Dow is lower than that at just over 0.5%. But looks like it might be a good day, at least as the market opens. But Meta had a big event this week, and the metaverse has been their big thing. But they're also announcing other products, and one of them has caught my attention. And I think we would have I personally, I'm like, I think I like this, and I think I would buy this, but then it also freaks me out. So they have a new set of smart glasses. Now, those have been kind of out before, but they've always been kind of clunky and ugly. And
Google tried that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and they looked weird, and you're like, I would never wear that. Now, these, Meta has a partnership with Ray-Ban, so they're just like Wayfarers. And I would say the sides are a little bit thicker, but not thicker than like you would think that some like stylish sunglasses already are. So it would be hard. And there is like a circle on the front, I think, where the camera is, but I think you would have to look pretty hard to notice that these sunglasses are something beyond just regular sunglasses. So that piques my interest because it's like, okay, they're also affordable, I would say. I think they're $200.
I was going to ask, so the Bell affordable is different than the Rathert affordable.
Well, I think those VR headsets, some of them were like in the thousands of dollars.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
These sunglasses are $299. And
wow.
I've been looking for a new pair of AirPods. And AirPods are like the newest version of AirPods are well into the $300 range. I know, Branden, you were looking for some new headphones.
I just bought some.
Yeah, and they're super expensive. And so I'm thinking, so the glasses, what they would actually do, you can actually take photos and videos on them. We'll come back to that, but you can make phone calls, and they also operate as speakers. And so you can you can talk like you would with AirPods in. And I'm thinking, for a lot of people, the AirPods, they fall out, or people say they don't fit my ears well.
I can't wear them because they're too big.
They're uncomfortable. So then I'm like, well, the glasses would be a perfect solution for that. But then I also think of that song, I Wear My Sunglasses at Night. Like, are we all going to be, they do have some that fade, but those never work right. Or because they're dark when you're inside, and then they're and they would look goofy. But I'm just thinking, are we all going to be walking around with sunglasses on our face, even when we're inside, just so we can stay on our call or listen to music? I think that's acceptable. The other thing that kind of freaks me out is apparently they're saying it's a cool content creation thing because you can basically film your perspective, your POV, at your work or whatever you're doing. Maybe you're DJing, and they see basically what you see, which I think that's
it's not just you holding a camera. It's actually it's more straightforward and steady.
And I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. At the same time, now if someone's creepily
feel good and stuff like that. What is it? Somebody laughing, giggling, having a good time. And when you laugh, makes you feel good, stuff like that. That's somebody filming looting, third night in a row in Philadelphia. Just giddy about it. By the way, the gal who did that, she's a social media influencer. Her name is Meatball. She actually, that's her name, Meatball. It's her social media. That's her stage name. She ended up getting arrested, and I bring that up because here's what she said on her social media after she got arrested. She's like distraught. She says, "I can't believe this." She says, "I will never ever do this kind of stuff again." So my thought is, because that's the very problem, is these people. They're going and stealing and looting. Or as CNN called it the other day, I don't know if you heard this, John. CNN called it shopping without cash. Bending over backwards to make this behavior okay. But she said, I don't ever want to do this again. Don't ever want to go to jail again. So what that tells me is, so when there are penalties for what you're doing, it's encouraging you to not partake in that behavior again, which is one of the big problems here. Steph, what do you got for leftovers?
There's this strange story about the Amtrak volunteers down in Jefferson City resigning, and they said it happened after an official ceremony, and they weren't recognized. And I think they do a good job. I've ridden the Amtrak, and it's always nice to have folks there kind of letting you know what's going on, because the train's kind of a weird thing, and they don't have an official office, so it's nice to be able to get some help down there, and several of them, I guess, are resigning.
Steve Birschmeyer, I believe is the guy's name. He's an Amtrak volunteer. He was chatting with KRCG.
We're the ones that have been doing this for 20 years now, and to not be included in that, come on now. The only ones that were here appeared to be the officials that were here for a photo opportunity. They've never been in here. 20 years.
That's a pretty powerful statement, because how often do we accuse, whether it's a national level, state level, whatever it is, these people that show up in the nice suits, nice dresses and skirts, and they show up, it's a photo op, and then gone.
Yeah.
I thought it was a powerful statement. Marsh, anything for leftovers?
Well, thanks to our guys at our sister station, KWTO in Springfield, we've got the story about after 7 years of prison for a role in her mother's murder, Gypsy Blanchard will soon be out of jail, getting out of jail early. This was a case that got national attention and ended up as some of the true crime documentaries. This was the young woman who claimed her mother verbally and physically abused her for years and fed her medications to make her sick and all that, tried to profit off her bad vibes and bad health situation, and talked her and her boyfriend into killing the mom.
Yeah, that was even made into a Hulu, I don't know what they call it, not a documentary, but they had actors redo it.
Yeah.
Joey King played Gypsy. That was a pretty big series on Hulu for a while.
Also, I want to remind people, we're big on local businesses here, but today is officially National Coffee Day. And we had, National Morning Radio Hosts Day earlier this week. So I hope everyone is celebrating with their favorite cup.
Those two go together, don't they?
They sure do.
I might go celebrate a couple times today.
Yeah.
There's a coffee, and I can't remember where it is, but they're making edible cups. And my first thought is, that sounds kind of weird. It's ice cream cone, basically, but it's shaped differently and it's stronger. And I'm like, that is a great idea. You drink the coffee and you can eat the cup afterwards. Don't we do the same thing with ice cream? That was a cool idea.
Brandon, you want me to go get you one of my frou-frou coffee drinks that you secretly like and I'm not supposed to tell anyone?
You know
and you
what?
can pour it in an ice cream cone for him.
Since it's Brian Houseworth's birthday, I will take a frou-frou coffee. What the heck? Make it pumpkin spice.
That reminds me of that Jim Gaffigan sketch about breakfast foods, because we just eat cake for breakfast, like pancakes and muffins, and we're like, it's breakfast though, so it's healthy. Yeah, that's all I need is my coffee and an ice cream cone.
And the pancake is it's just a vehicle for the syrup. We're not eating the pancake.
Oh my goodness.
Or peanut butter.
Or peanut butter. It's just a vehicle to put the sugar into your body. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. And leftovers, Brian Houseworth's birthday. I don't know if I want to do him singing or what. Cause there was one time he got really mad on the show. One time, he was almost going to come at us and kick somebody's. But one of the winners I wanted to pick for winner of the week here in leftovers, I kind of hesitated to do because I know some people will get triggered by it.
Brandon.
Chris Christie's line from the debate the other night regarding Donald Trump not being
You're
there.
ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
I thought it was a great line. And then somebody who would like for Trump to be president more than I would like for Chris Christie to be president. Brilliant line.
See, you make me nervous when you tee it up like that because I almost wonder if you're breaking my golden rule.
If I have to ask?
The answer's no.
Oh, the answer is no. And remind me to tell you about as national parks, or at least some national park bathrooms. National parks might stay open past the government shutdown that could happen tomorrow, but bathrooms will be shut. Remind me to...
You got to hold it till you leave.
Remind me to tell you about the bear and the rabbit out in the bathroom, going to the bathroom out in the woods joke. And then this from Brian.
Good times. Easy credit ripoffs.
Yes.
Dynamite.
Ain't we lucky we got 'em. Good
Awesome.
Very impromptu. Happy birthday, Houseworth. We love you, man. Monday on the show, Congressman Mark Alford, 7:35, talking about the shutdown. See where we are Monday. And do you know how you got your name? Some of the things we're doing on Monday. My dad's favorite show, Gary. Gary Nolan's coming up. See ya.
Bye.